Hello and welcome to the Swag Shack. This is going to be a potential new series. Who knows? We'll see if I enjoy having fun with this or not. But the main goal of this series is to take entries or parks or ride designs from other creators, take a look at them, see how we can potentially improve them, and actually do the work. So there's a lot of builders, especially on like DKMP, which is a great server, and they enter contests. Usually they're ride themed, so this one looks like it's probably the Flying Coaster contest. And they submit a park with a certain amount of tiles, and it has to have the exact ride type, and then they have a little bit of flexibility to sort of do what they want with the theme. This one was created by Wes, and it's a pretty solid entry. The coaster looks good. The plot is interesting. There's a lot going on, and I think what we're gonna do is take a look at some of the features and review it as if I was reviewing this for the contest, and maybe give a positive or a negative, and improve this entry sort of bit by bit. And I say improve, that is an opinion. Some people might prefer one way or the other, but in this circumstance, I would like to take this park and small entry and do things here and there to improve the park. So it's not going to all be in one video either. I think we could probably get away with doing this in multiple videos and figuring out little improvements here and there that maybe you can go back to and be like, oh, that's how we improved the lift hill, or this is how we improved pathing, or this is how we improved scenery, etc. So it should be fun. The first thing I want to do is just review this park in general, and then we'll choose one item that we can fix, and that'll be the theme of this video. So sit back, relax, and let's see what we got here. So as for the Flying Coaster, I think the layout's solid. I'm not going to say it's the best layout I've seen, but I really do like the way it kind of weaves around like a flying coaster would. It's not too dense, it's not too fast. It feels solid. There seems to be one inversion, so that one big inversion right here looks like half of a pretzel loop. I do like that little pre-drop with some airtime before coming around. Gains most of its speed right here, so it's down low and then it comes up. So honestly, the layout's not something I would probably change in this circumstance. I would say there might be better layouts out there, but I do appreciate what was built here. The custom supports as well are not bad. I wouldn't consider them great in some areas. The lift hill to me is something that I think could use improvement. I might look at some real life flying coaster lift hills to figure out what might work better, but it does look kind of odd with these trapezoids up here. And that's kind of, I would say, probably okay with the coaster layout itself. The station itself is kind of bland. I'm not sure if there was a story for this park. Let me see. Yeah, it's just a short story, no details about the coaster itself, but being that it is a flying coaster, a lot of stations have had dual stations. That's not necessary, I don't think, dual loading stations. But the one thing that is significant is this is a pretty large building compared to the rest of the buildings in the park, and it is sort of flat and singular. So I think we're probably going to want to redo the station. We'll keep it thematically the same, sort of a large rectangle. And I think it's called Thunderstorm, so it's got this T with some objects. Is that a... Okay, so there's DKSO on this map. So Wes did use some custom objects. When I redo something in a park, I will probably do my best to not use custom scenery objects. That's just my preference. So I'll take a look at that. The brake run is a little tough to see. I see some walkways, so that's a great detail to add. The supports for it are kind of odd. It looks like you've got some supports going down right here, but in this circumstance, I do think the supports would probably just be flanking and vertical on there, so that might be something we touch up. So we might look at one of the episodes of doing just station, lift hill, support work potentially. Okay. Now for the rest of the entry, we've got these small houses. I assume these are going to have like shops and stalls, restrooms, or something in them. I don't think these are meant to be actual buildings. It looks kind of more like a themed area, so like Toontown in Disneyland. They've got like little micro, super well themed buildings to give the aesthetic of like a playland. So there's nothing crazy on that end. And then you've got this little slide in the middle, which has a fun little fenced-in area. That's not too bad. We've got a launched freefall coaster here. Oh, look at that. From this perspective, these gears look like they're mixed up, but they're not the same gears. This is a little odd. I'm not sure if this brings anything to the park. We'll look at this. So that might be a ride we kind of change up and maybe change to a different ride type. You've got a little maze, which looks to have a lot of people in it. I might have reduced the amount of people in the maze just to make it look less crowded. The pathway is dirt, which I don't think I'm against the dirt usage. You do use pathways in other areas. So I'm not sure if we would change that up significantly. I did just notice, like, your queue, this building just has one entrance, which I'm assuming there's an exit, and then the queue starts in here somewhere. That's a little odd. You'd want the queue to be entrance off of the main plaza, so that people walking down the plaza would have access straight into the line, and then the exit would be potentially where it's at currently. And then we've got a train ride. The first thing I'm not a huge fan of this train ride is the bridging over the coaster. I think in most circumstances they'd probably try to go under the coaster and figure out how to make this train not go over too many incline changes. So I might look at changing up the layout of this ride as well. That makes more sense. It's kind of crazy going straight out of the station up and over a flying coaster. And then we have some food court right here and a little backlot area. So just little details, and this looks like maybe the directory. So probably that there just defined. And then you've got some pretty bland cliffs on the outside and some sort of ride that nobody's riding. This looks like an inner tube on a boat. Okay. So I would say we could probably focus on doing the lift hill, the station, and the brake run. So we're going to do that, and then we're not going to change the layout of the ride too much. So we're going to do that, and that's going to include me probably deleting this train and redoing the train as well. So let's get to it. So you just watched me build what we can say is the basic structure of the lift hill. If you look at real lift hills when it comes to flying coasters, most of the time it goes sort of in this sort of pattern. Actually, we can fix some of these while we're live recording audio. It's going to be hard to touch certain objects, so let's gotta find it on here. Gotta find that monorail. There we go. And this might change. You might see it every now and then where it flickers, or you gotta fix it because you're putting so many objects on a single tile that it might change up the variance. Okay, so when you see a flying coaster and the lift supports, it's kind of strange, but they don't actually have the escape or the stairwell underneath the ride itself. And I'm not sure why B&M did this, because in like inverted coasters, you can actually see on their lift hills, they'll actually have sort of a staircase going up directly underneath the lift hill itself. But on flying coasters, they leave it open. They usually have a flanking stairwell, and then they have another, what you would just see as a beam on the other opposite side. And in an event of an emergency where they needed to evacuate people who are stuck on a lift hill, I believe the stairwell has like an emergency, not an escape ladder, but like an extendable platform that extends out. So I'm guessing they wanted to build the intensity of the folks who are going up the lift hill. I know from firsthand experience, going up the lift hill on Tatsu is insane. You're going up, the hills are going down below you, the land below you is going down. It's like the most intense. You're holding onto your supports. You're like, if these things fail, I'm falling to my death. So in this circumstance, you basically have supports that go to the ground, and yes, they're not perfectly straight in real life. We can't do that in RCT. But then you have a other structure right here, which I'm going to assume when it's connected to the staircase and it's connected to the other escape hatch pipe or whatever you call it, just needs that extra support from this area. They don't necessarily need a support all the way to the ground. They just need probably a rigidity thing for the escape area. So you'll see that. You'll see full support, and then you'll go just for rigidity, full support, rigidity, full support, rigidity, full support. And then actually on the final part, there's usually a top rail and then a vertical piece that goes down with the safety ladder, and nothing below it. So this is actually kind of just a placeholder for now. But let's get the colors of the lift hill to make sense. We did white, and then we did white. So now it looks a lot more uniform. And let's go ahead and name them. We'll just call this horizontal support. Some circumstances you might even not want to name them, just so you don't run into just having too many words. This one we'll just call support. You can sometimes name it like Thunder. Support Thunder, because that's what it's called, right? Thunder something? Thunderstorm? Okay. So, yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build that walkway, and I'm going to build the support beam opposite of the walkway. If I was a better editor, I'd probably show you a picture of this, just to show you what I'm trying to mimic, but I might not be that good. I might be able to. We'll see it in the edit. what you can see here is sort of that emergency extendable thing, which I believe they have some sort of system that like extends out from the railing. And yes, I have it red for now. So overall, you've got sort of, this is the railing, or this is supposed to look like the escape rail. You know, people are walking up this, and then they got this little rail beside them, and then the extendable piece comes out from there. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to the white. It's going to blend in more. And we'll just give it invisible supports. So overall, you sort of get that aesthetic of what you find in a real coaster in that circumstance. You have noticed, like, I've probably deleted some trees here and there. When you're using diagonal track pieces as decoration, sometimes it's on different tiles and the trees would be blocking the perspective. The biggest thing that matters, though, is the coaster. You don't want the coaster going through the supports and like clipping through. You want it to look as real as possible. So as long as that all worked, I think we're okay with it. And hey, if you don't like the way this railing looks, I use multi-dim coaster. There's always a possibility. It looks like a random pieces right here. There's always a possibility for you to use a different coaster or track piece. I mean, you could mini roller coaster, switch it up. That's too thin, in my opinion. But you could layer that with multiple layers of track. I like the multi-dim, and in this circumstance, it's a little bit messy, but this is the first time I've ever tried doing this. So we're going to rename this Lift Walkway. And I do believe I need to do this final section, which is just going to be a vertical, across, and a down. And that's going to be it for this video. I am going to do the station and probably the transfer track. This is so much easier to do than the lift hill, because there's a lot more angles going on with the lift hill and the supports going around and stuff. So I'm going to do that in the next video. We're not going to make these videos too long. You might get too bored. So let me finish this piece up. I'll be using some other track techniques to make this work. As you can see, this piece is on the edge of a tile, so you can't use a track piece like this because it's not on the same tile. So there's another trick to do it. It might not match up perfectly with these overhead beams, but I'm going to try to make it work as best as possible, and we'll see you at the completion time. Well, it looks like the recording didn't work, unfortunately, so basically I used suspended compact inverted coaster to get this piece. It's sort of a large cylindrical support with a smaller horizontal support, and then I just used the same cylinder on the other side without a topper on the looping coaster, and that is going to support the end of these pieces like it does in real life pictures. I'm telling you, go look it up. Looks pretty crazy, but that's what they've got going on these coasters. And most of the time I think it extends a little bit further out, but because of this curve, I wanted to stop it right there. So that's what we've got. You're going to see, we'll name it in another video, but we're going to look at this right here. So this is the Swag Shack version of the lift hill. And actually, let's do a little bit better of a job of painting the ground. Okay, so there's the improved version with a more accurate lift hill and maybe a little bit better looking. We're going to switch really quick between this one and the original. So if you're looking at the original right here, the biggest parts is this clearly looks like a wooden coaster track piece underneath the lift hill. I think it's fine, and in a lot of circumstances you can't get away with it. I think it's a little too close in this circumstance. Those people would not be that close to that, being able to reach out and grab it. The supports in general are just too thick, too wide, looks a little bulky, and then also looks under supported at the same time. So that's sort of an issue. And then when we switch back over to the West Swag version, if you really wanted to get nitpicky, you could probably put some cross beams between the two of these. So if you can imagine, you might have, you know, one or two of these for each of these pieces. I'm not going to get too in-depth in this situation right here. But yeah, this is generally just a basic improvement over the previous version. So if you like this kind of video, obviously like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to keep on doing these. It was fun to get back into RCT after being on hiatus for a while. The next video is probably going to be redoing this station building and the transfer track. And we can just keep on messing around with the coaster that we've got, or the entry that we've got. Shout out to Wes. Thank you for allowing me to do this on your entry. And I hope to see all of you in the next video.